I remember one time I was in this horror film called The Matchstick Game, and I had a bike to rehearsals before they went into principal photography. It's still around, the films and VHS tapes. And I went to this place right over here, this parking lot right over here, to fix my bike. A lady ran into me while I was on my mountain bike. I'd go to rehearsals on my mountain bike every day. I was like, I don't know, just like 27. And I was in Euless, and I was pulling out from it was like a hotel parking lot, and she just rammed the back tire, and I went flying right into the, into like my hands got into the gravel, and it cut up my palms right here and stuff. And I was like, my goodness, it's like both of them right here, like all this gravel, like right here. And so finally we go to the bike shop to fix the back wheel, and they're being really kind of mean about it. My mom kind of got onto them because I had no other form of transportation, and I was late for rehearsal already. So I used to bike there every day, which is a long bike. It was like the bike ride was about 10 or 12 miles. And my mom would my mom, that one time after I got hit by that lady, it was a hit and run. She left the scene. So she hit me and ran. And my mom took me to the bike shop. We fixed the back tire. And finally, I had her drive me halfway in Arlington. And I just bailed out and took the bike and made it to rehearsal. And they got on to me when I got there late. I was all sweaty. They didn't know what I went through. My hands were all bloody. And I showed up. We did complete most of the film. Most of the film was completed. We shot some of it by lake in a small, it was like an old restaurant that we turned into kind of like our own little like house thing with a deck. There's a deck that went out into the lake, and the moon was always weird every night when we were shooting there. It had like a halo around it, and it had like a drug message too in it. And the filmmaker, I think he went to Europe, but the VHS tapes are still around today. Natalie Jones, who is in Dead Awake, I think it's called Dead Awake or something like that, she is like a B-film actress, and so she knows about it. It's just floating around somewhere. It was a lot of work, memorization, all of that stuff was a lot of crazy work, but it's a horror film and it's out there. It's called Matchstick Game. They've done like 3 or 4 versions of it. They did it out in Dallas, and I actually landed that part. I played a character called Trent, and he was kind of like a murderer. They all had all these sins that they had. My character poisoned the neighbor with oleander and a pheasant or something like that. They put oleander in a bird. They cooked the bird, gave it to the neighbor. It was a present or whatever, like a dinner, and it killed the neighbor. You actually can do that. You can feed the bird oleander. Natalie helped me later on, I guess maybe 20 years later. She helped me with this indie film that we try to lift off called The Projectionist, who I used an actor named Daniel Lunt, the brother of Ryan Lunt, which is a stand-up comedian, or he was at least trying to be. We did okay. We lifted off pretty good. We had no money, but Natalie Jones, she bailed out of it. She didn't like the fact that sometimes it was out of focus. So we were using an S8 for the film. It's a Samsung 8. And we did have a Zoom mic. So we actually had a mic and a clapper too. And we were going to do the whole film just with really no money at all. But if you don't commit to it, I can't force them to do it. So, we were going to use just the money that we were making at the time. We're going to put our own money into it. But they bailed out, so I just went into vlogging instead. The White House I was talking about was located right in there. There was a car wash that was right across the street from it. But we were sitting in the back of the police car, Westbrook Johnson and I. We were back in the seat, in the back seat on the other side of the cage. And we were sitting back there. And I leaned forward as the handcuffs were, gripping on me about right here. And I asked the police officer, It must be fun to be a cop. And he just kind of grinned, looked around. He has 2 teenage kids in handcuffs in the back seat of his car. Two cops. There were 2 cops. I'm thinking to myself, well, what are we going to do now? I guess we're dead. I mean, what do? We can't get out. We're in bondage. They got us. We're handcuffed. What are we going to do? Eventually just got out. Moved on. Went very far. All the way to New York to grad school. That cop is a fat ass. Forgive my language. But the cop he's overweight. He's by himself. And he's watching this right now on YouTube. Thinking to himself, how did I become this fat? Why am I this obese? Right? Why am I an overweight, miserable, depressed person? It must be fun